This is ESPN Esports. He's Jacob Wolf. I'm Arda Ocal. Happy to be talking Rocket League with Lawler, longtime Rocket League analyst. Season 8, we are in the thick of it. Playoffs are upon us. And some surprises, Lawler. G2, what's going on here, man? All of a sudden, they're having a terrible Rocket League. What's going on?
This season has been pure chaos and really exciting and really entertaining for us, but it is unbeknown to why players that were runner-ups at the last World Championship are now in the promotion relegation tournament. It is actually bizarre. We started the season coming in with, since Cloud9 has come into the RLCS, there's been a big three kind of mentality with Energy, G2, and Cloud9 in North America. They have always won. They've always been at the World Championship. They've always been in playoffs. That is nothing that has changed. Their record against the other 5 teams is like 95-4. It's something ridiculous. Wow. This is the first season that they've not only lost, but lost more than entire history's past. Like, it is so bizarre and also, like I said, very exciting, but it has made my predictions look ridiculous. So, honestly, a lot of us believe it is because of a major meta shift that is going on. We are seeing a lot of these young gun teams, and we are seeing a new era of Rocket League kind of develop. There is generally a mentality of teams come into play with the mentality of, let's not make mistakes. Let's play a style to make sure that we support each other in case something bad happens. We can take care of that. I go in to create an opportunity, whether it be a pass or a challenge to get the ball back. My teammate is behind me supporting that to make sure that he's the next one to get the ball. And the shift with these young guys is they're so fast, so mechanically gifted, and so quick to the ball that they cut that rotation. They don't rotate out. They just double back in and just keep applying pressure. And if it works, and if you don't make mistakes, it's great. But if you do, you're super susceptible to counterattack. And that's why most teams don't do that, because it is very risky. And right now, these young guys are not making mistakes, which is kind of absurd to think about in a physics-based game where everything is input based upon the player. So we are literally seeing teams go for plays that have major consequences, and for the most part, aren't making mistakes and are not getting punished for it, catching a lot of the old guard off guard.
So I want to ask that. You said other people credit a meta shift. You know, Rocket League is a game where we've seen dynasties over multiple years in the past, and then teams repeating world championships. What do you credit this change to, though?
I have been slowly researching. I think it is definitely a potential meta shift, but I am not one to jump on a train just because I'm seeing it once. I'm someone that needs to see it repeatedly. Looking back on history, if you look at since RLCS Season 7, the trend of who is in the top 4 at major events like your DreamHacks, your World Championships, our Premier, whatever, you are starting to see a shift in North American teams being the ones that are leading the charges compared to Europe, and it's always been Europe-based. And I'm trying to find a reasoning as to why. Many of us believe the reason why Europe was so strong is not only did they have more pros at the top level, but it's because the fact that it is ingrained in their culture. Soccer or football over there is something that has always been a part of their childhood and growing up. So they're ingrained with the mentalities of passing, controlling, don't force the issue, maintain possession. And for a long time, it was a passing man game. Like, for the longest time, EU dominated Rocket League for those reasons. Their just possession game was so good. And now that you're seeing teams switch to a more mechanical heavy style, which is definitely favored in North America, you're starting to see that shift in the other direction. In the last 3 tournaments between the RLCS Season 7, DreamHack Valencia, and DreamHack Montreal, you're talking like 75% of the top teams are now North American, which is kind of absurd. It's not something we come to see. There was a fluke there with Valencia. It was heavily EU, but for the most part, it's definitely been North America. So I think Madrid is going to tell us a lot, because as of right now, from what we've seen, EU has looked relatively sloppy. North America's games, even though teams are losing, it is due to the fact that the other team is playing good, not that this team is playing poor and this one is played less poor. So I'm curious to see when these teams meet internationally, if that still persists.
So on the road to Madrid, give us a couple teams that you really have your eye on that might perhaps fly under the radar.
So we haven't even decided our 8 teams yet, or even in our case, we do more than that because we have South America and OCE. Not too low-key from South America. They are a team that has only lost 1 game. They look extremely good. They did come in very aggressive, very fast play style. A lot of mistakes because of that. But they have definitely become more refined, and they could surprise a lot of people. A team that isn't even qualified yet, that is playing as the 6th seed going into the regional championships, is FC Barcelona. They're a young guy, Bluey, who's been in the highlight spot numerous times before, as well as Devo, an ex-world champion. They've got a new player on their team that was at the World Championship last season, and Ronicky is another team that I think can definitely make the run, even though they've got the hardest route to the World Championship. And then you always have to give the number 1 seeds a nod. Reciprocity and Energy both look really good. They both have pop-off potential. They both have the ability to have all players really just click and mesh. And there's a lot of experience with those teams, which you can never count out because that stage has a lot of pressure to it.
How about some teams that we talked about G2 there and their fall from grace? There are a couple other teams like Vitality, Pittsburgh Knights that you would expect them at this point in the season to be a little better off than they are.
Yeah, it's this has been the most competitive season we've ever seen. I feel like I'm broken recorder saying that every single season at this point. But that's the exciting part. Out of our last 8 majors, we've had a different winner every single time. It just goes to show how competitive, and it's anybody's game. And I think that's why Rocket League is deemed and touted as the most exciting esport. At any moment, anybody can score, and at any moment, any team can win. And that's no different this season. They just decided not to wait until the World Championships to show that. It is inside the regional league play that we are seeing teams trade wins left and right. You go into a match and you're like, this team theoretically should win, but this other team just has this day where they're just feeling it and they pop off. I mean, you look at Energy 6-0, they go into the last week, and yeah, they've already clinched play-in potential and they already have a spot secured, but Rogue beats them pretty handily, and Rogue looks really good, which is the exact same situation as last World Championship run, where they came in 6th again, and they made it all the way to LAN as the worst seed. So they end up finishing top 4. It just goes to show that these guys, like, it comes down to the day, no matter how good you are. As for G2 Cloud9, I honestly don't know what's going on. Chicago had one of the best performances we've ever seen in the early weeks, and then they just fell apart. Cloud9 just looks flat. I don't know. It's really weird to see.
So I want to ask this. You know, you have said multiple times, though, that we're seeing the best Rocket League play ever, and I do agree with that. But what do you think the peak is? I mean, how much better can the game get? How much better can players get? I mean, what do you think? When do you think we'll see the peak of Rocket League, and is it now?
Is it possible to have a peak when the game is purely mechanical and physics-based? I honestly don't believe so, because there will always be the human element involved. No matter what happens, there is no way to play perfect. There just isn't. And in a physics-based game where everything is a minute touch and a little bit control, you can always do that better, no matter what. So I don't think we will ever see a peak in Rocket League. I don't think it's possible. And that's really exciting, knowing that the players can only get better with the more time and effort they put in. It's just a matter of now, I think we're starting to see such a heavy emphasis on coaching, mental conditioning, making sure you're healthy, and doing the things that are outside of the game that translate into the game. Things like making sure you have a good routine, you're working out, you're eating healthy, you're getting a good night's rest. You have a coach that's going to help with your mental game, making sure that you're not stressed, you're staying level-headed, you're calm, collected. I think those things are going to be what allow teams to really be successful moving forward.
Rocket League analyst Lawler joining us here on ESPN ESPORTS. Thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks.